Randy and Cheryl, and we're in the middle of a story series, and today the title of the message is going to be Your Story Matters. And so, Randy and Cheryl, welcome. Thank you for doing this for us. We'll just jump right into it. We just want to hear your story. So, Cheryl, why don't you start by sharing your story with us?
Okay, I'm a child of divorced parents, non-churched, was invited to church by a bus ministry, where I accepted the Lord at the church that I went to, where I met Randy, and that's where our story starts.
And I came to know the Lord when I was 6. My parents had just been saved themselves, just come to know the Lord. And a few months later, I followed in that at the church that they joined. Was going to church in Indianapolis, Indiana. And this good-looking young woman came, young woman of 14. But over the next year, we started dating, unofficial dates, had no driver's license, so I couldn't go out on dates. We had one official date after I got my license at 16 years and 1 month, and 2 months later, we were married at the age of 15 and 16.
Well, tell us about how that happened. I mean, most people don't get married at 15 and 16. Tell us how that even happened.
Well, I would say, of course it's us I'm talking about, but we were mature for our age and very responsible in our families. We had talked about getting married because of Cheryl's home situation with the stepfather and things were just not real happy in the family there. And we talked many times about running off and getting married once we got out of high school. So we had developed that thought over the year that we dated. And then my brilliant idea was to skip school one day.
Definitely his idea.
When I got my driver's license finally. I said I was mature, but this story probably proves some of that wrong. But after I had my license for a few weeks, I decided that we should skip school and just go hang out at Brown County State Park, which is close to us there in Indiana, and talked Cheryl into it. We did skip school. I picked her up at her school. We went to 2 different high schools. Picked her up and took off. Well, your parents had to call in to let the school know that you weren't skipping school. So I called my school. Cheryl called her school. The problem is Cheryl used her last name, which her mom's last name had changed when she remarried.
I was nervous.
So we were caught immediately and knew, because Cheryl's folks were leaving the state. Her stepfather was being transferred in the Army. And we were already told that we would not be able to see each other any longer. We would not be able to date or communicate because we'd gotten way too serious for as young as we were. So with all of that knowledge, I knew the only way that we could keep seeing each other, stay together, was to get married. And I told her, we can't wait until we're 18 now. We're going to have to do it now. And that's what we did.
So what was that like? How old were you?
15.
What was that like to be 15 and you're running off thinking you're going to spend the day together, and then you decide to go ahead and get married?
It was pretty surprising. I don't regret it, though. I really feel like God had his hand on us, and he loved us through it. And my mom said it won't last a year, and my mother-in-law said, welcome to the family. And I just felt like that I'd come home. They very loving Christian family, and it made all the difference. They helped nurture us into Christian living, and it was just the Lord, I feel like.
It was. The Lord had a plan there. It was not our plan. It was his plan. Because I certainly, with all my maturity, was not mature enough to handle all the things that were ahead of us. But I did have a very strong faith in the Lord. And I told my mom time and time again over the years, the only reason we ran off and got married so easily was because they helped to instill the faith in the Lord that they had in me. And I knew if this was God's plan, He would make it work. And very simplistic, but very true. And that is what has given us strength. We stayed in the church. We got married at 15, 16. Within a year, we were taking care of the nursery for the church that we went to. And we just went on to teach classes. And as we grew, ended up teaching in the adult classes and being part of our church as the years went on. And grew our faith and grew our family strong that way.
You mentioned family. Getting married at 15 and 16, when did that family come along?
My son was born 10 months to the day after we got married, which was kind of nice because all of my friends from high school assumed that we had to get married, and we did not. But they were all counting. I could see them all the time, counting up how many months it had been. And that was, I think the Lord had a hand in that too. You know, I think it was good that we had children young. We kind of got the opportunity to grow up with our children and had the energy to spend with them. At a young age, we were kind of the outsiders to everyone else. You know, all of our friends were still in high school when we had our first child. We had the second child shortly after they were all graduating, and we didn't fit in. We also didn't fit into the 25-year-olds because we were 15 and 16. So the Lord worked it out, I do believe, that we had our children and my family to stay close and develop that family unit.
Now, out of your two kids, which one would you say is your favorite?
No comment.
That's being recorded, and we can't say at this point.
Well, I can tell you who it is. It's your son. What has the journey been like? You get married at a young age, kids at a young age, and just all the things that you have experienced in life. How has God been faithful, or what has been some of your biggest challenges as far as that has affected your story?
The loss of his mom at 54. Just the normal things that everybody goes through, loss. You know, loss of jobs, loss of family members.
We lost our daughter-in-law when she was 23, and that was just a little over a year after I lost my mom.
And I lost my grandmother and uncle all around that time. And if the Lord He just helps you. You grow through it. And you learn to help others through it. I think that's part of God's plan, so that we can help each other.
We learned that there is a grieving process. I didn't really know that. We all hear that. But living through it helped us to understand how hard that is, and then hopefully be more considerate of other people that might be going through the same thing. And that was tough times. That was probably the hardest that we've had to deal with.
A lot of people say when they come to know the Lord or they make a profession of faith that they feel like everything's going to be easy. How have you seen that played out in your life?
I don't think anything is that easy, but I think if you've prayed about it, God can help you get through anything that you have to get through. I mean, I just believe that He will help you.
And I think that's what helps to grow your faith, you know, as a young Christian, and I would say to a very young age. But my parents were saved just before me and then went off to Bible college, gave their life to go to Bible college and go into full-time ministry. And at that young age, I was able to observe their lives. And I think God used that to strengthen within me a faith that was very strong and very secure, so that later in life, I would see problems, struggles come, and not really have a fear, not ever have a fear in those younger years at all, that God was going to help us accomplish whatever we need to accomplish.
Well, Randy and Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We really do appreciate it, and we wish you well.
Thank
very
you.
much.